Man, it is a beautiful, beautiful day. I don't want to go anywhere with the windows up. I want to keep them down. It's still a little chilly though. I don't know how much longer I'll be able to cruise with the windows down. Hopefully it's not affecting the video quality that much. I'll go ahead and roll them up here in a minute. But we are talking about a couple of things as far as the changing world order. Man, I am on a kick. I've been listening to a new audiobook. I actually have ordered it as well, and I'm listening to the actual book. I mean, I have the actual book that I'll be reading. I have it by my bed, so I'll do that at night. And it is Ray Dalio, Principles for the Changing World Order. And I'm a fan, I must say. Very eye-opening when you get what I would consider an inside track on what's going on. A reinforcing foundation of somebody else who, who is very successful and who has made a lot of money, is saying things that feels very similar to the things that I've thought and felt and seen and experienced. So that's been incredibly nice, and I've enjoyed that. So anywho, get a little stretch in. It's a long drive. Excited. I'm gonna go hit the gym today. A little shoulder day, shoulder action. Get the blood flowing again. Well, it's just really interesting with everything that's happening between Russia and Ukraine, China's silence, COVID-19's mysterious exit. So one of the really interesting things that happened not too terribly long ago, and of course, me drawing this similarity or this correlation doesn't necessarily mean anything. It's just a conspiracy in my head because I'm connecting dots that may or may not just be arbitrary, but there was the 1919 pandemic, right? The influenza pandemic. And, like what happened right before that? The World War, the Great War, World War I. And we saw the testing of nations. Nations were greatly tested. And the ones who came out from the struggle were the ones that grew and evolved and saw incredible rises in their economy. And that was kind of a catalyst, a watershed event for a new world order at that time. And what's interesting is how the World Economic Forum has basically declared that the United States will no longer be a world superpower in the coming decade. And then what did we see? We saw COVID-19, and now we see Russia and Ukraine and rising tensions. And, I'm not necessarily saying World War III is going to happen, but I do think that there will be lots of things that do play out, from cyber attacks and minor skirmishes here and there that are really going to reinforce the narrative. And the thing is you can't I don't know. You can't really see a cyber attack. You can hear about it. You can hear reports of it, but it may not be something that's actually like seeable. And I'm not saying that things are going to be engineered or manufactured, because there's definitely bad actors in the world, but everything is just getting mighty suspicious to me. And this is just the way my mind sees it, based on my experience growing up in the world of investing and finance and economics. And based on those trends, and being someone who enjoys history and has studied it, I just feel like the World Economic Forum saying that the United States will no longer be a superpower in the coming decade this is just their fingers manipulating the puppet strings. And it's just kind of a reverse cycle of the pandemic and now a war. And I can't say war in quotes because I don't know what's going on over there. I haven't seen with my eyes. All that I see are images coming out from the media, everything from Ukrainian fighters with fake metal guns to Miss Ukraine holding a airsoft gun, to all of these different images that seem to be propaganda. And wars do create propaganda, and that is something that is can be considered a necessary evil during wartime, depending on what is going on and what side you're on, I suppose. But that is one of the things that I'm just seeing. I don't think World War III is gonna happen, and it might be World War III looking back. Maybe that's what the history books will write. But as we know, history is just the mutually agreed upon lie. History is the lie that we all agree upon. So, the good thing about wars such as this is that most people don't get shot with bullets. They're not terribly affected. Their lives are intact. They're not injured. And that's one of the things about the world we live in today. Most people stay employed. In fact, wars are a big economic boon. And they just, or did I use that term right? They call us economic booms. Boon, I don't know. They're a boon for the economy. I don't know. It definitely spurs on the machine. The war machine keeps turning. Generals in just like witches at masses. So, if we see a shift in the world order, because China is coming on up. China already owns a lot of the U.S. debt, rising middle class. But I think what is really going to happen, and what a lot of people are warning about, and not even really warning about, look, like Klaus Schwab has said it himself, this is where the rise of the corporation, this isn't going to be nations anymore. This is going to be a globe owned by corporations. And that is frankly scary. Maybe let's try to play devil's advocate. People right now are already up in arms about the government, okay? So, the government is supposed to be for the people, by the people, to protect the people and the needs and the interests, and serve the people, just like that. And I guess there is a lot of that still happens. So they're not entirely lost, because constituents vote and politicians harvest votes by promising things like what is it, welfare, and subsidies and those sorts of things. I stay very apolitical. Most people who know me know that. It's really funny because my Facebook algorithm thinks I'm Democrat, thinks I'm liberal. People in real life think I really like Trump. So I guess I'm chameleon. I'm being a good chameleon when it comes to politics, or being apolitical gives people confusion. Anyway, if corporations take the helm of what government is doing now, are they going to protect us? Because really, a corporation is the main goal of a corporation, and like what was drilled into my head in college was, increase shareholder equity, increase shareholder equity, increase shareholder equity. Like, that is your goal when you go to work for a publicly traded company. So a corporation that's beholden to its shareholders in a world that no longer needs governments is a scary thing. And we do live in a corporatocracy now, whether or not anyone wants to admit it. I mean, that is what this world is. That's why when we see senators and House of Representatives and people in the government making exorbitant amounts of wealth because of the power that they hold, and the inside information that they have. I mean, the efficient market hypothesis is still just a hypothesis, and we need better access to that information, but unfortunately we don't. There's only so much that can be done. And senators and politicians, they all meet with the wealthy business people in their area, because those are the people who are going to make massive donations to their political campaigns. And the people who owns the means of production, they're the ones that have all the wealth. They're the ones that churn and create jobs, which creates tax money, which feeds the politicians, and the machine goes on. And it's not a bad thing, this entire machine. What's a bad thing is maybe the direction that the world as a whole, as the machine is going. And transhumanism comes to mind, and that might be a discussion for another day. I don't get many comments on my videos yet, but if you guys would comment on that and want to hear my thoughts, I'd be more than happy to tell you what I think, the morality of it, the ethics of it, the pros and the cons, because there's a lot. There's a lot of ways that I think would be really great, and then there's the Ready Player One type of world where everyone is living in, they don't really care. And then there's the movie that I found. I gotta look back. Oh man, I don't know. I wrote it down somewhere, or I had it, and that's okay. So bring it up if I get enough comments about that. Kind of freaked out. There's like 2 sheriffs in front of me. I don't know. I guess they're going to school zones or something. Anyway, the fall of the U.S. empire. I mean, that's really kind of what I touched on. The new world order, the changing world order. The U.S. is gonna the U.S. is it's not gonna be what it once was. The U.S. is not gonna be the reigning superpower. There's a debt crisis. I think there's a debt crisis on the way. China's OP right now. It's got a great education system, you know. China's been putting out engineers and computer scientists for the last several years. There may not be a lot of creativity because of their culture, but they are well equipped for a cyber war, as opposed to the U.S., whose education system has been cranking out feminist dance therapy classes and basket weaving and international yoga therapy. Like crazy classes. And there is a place for a philosophy degree, especially if, you can become a content creator on YouTube and make something good out of it, like Soul Porpoise, big shout out. I love his stuff on Mass Effect and Dark Souls and Bhakti Vidya and like all of that. Like there's definitely a place for philosophy and sociology and all of that, but when your education system becomes diluted in the sense of there is not substance being added to your country, then you are setting yourself up for infiltration, immolation, the raping and the pillaging, essentially. You're opening up your doors for the Trojan horse. And that is one of the unfortunate, scary things of what's been happening. And it's not only with our education system, it can be seen in our military. I support the military. I do. I tried to join. I wanted to join the U.S. Air Force. I was even talked into maybe becoming a Marine or a Navy SEAL several times in my youth when I was in shape and I wasn't 32 and pudgy with a father figure. I say all that to say I have tremendous respect for the military, and what I see not even being on the inside scares me. It scares a lot of people. It scares other YouTubers who post content and have a channel. And I'm one of the people who, I'm not necessarily a libertarian, although that's probably the closest benchmark phrase to use to get a correlatory idea of what I am. I'm more of like a JFK Democrat. Like, I don't mind paying taxes to have clean water. I don't mind paying taxes to have my potholes fixed and to have roads. I don't mind paying taxes to have a military that's going to protect me. But I don't want a military that can't protect me. You know what I mean? I don't want a military that is crumbling from the inside out, so that when we go to war with Russia over this whole Ukraine situation, we aren't equipped mentally to do what needs to be done. And that is a frightening fact. It's frightening. So, to circle back, with the changes that are happening and the things that we're seeing with the US and Russia and the Ukraine over the last couple of years and what's going on now, I think that this new world order, this changing world order, it's a phrase that they use similar to, this is a classic Warren Commission report, Warren Commission papers type tactic, where they said, oh, Bush did 9/11, Bush did 9/11. That way The conspiracy theorists seemed wackadoodle and they seemed nuts. So they're just getting more and more New World Order catchphrase out there, so we become desensitized to it. So when it actually does happen, it happens. And we're just like, oh, whatever, we knew it was coming, but nobody stands up and fights. So this is what I'm saying. We need to stand up and fight it now. We need to make the New World Order our New World Order. The New World Order is going to take on a whole new meaning. They're going to lay the groundwork, and we're going to move in grassroots style and make it our own. This is going to be a movement, hopefully, that supersedes all the other movements in the past. I hope that we can look to the greats in our past, like Martin Luther King, like JFK, like Winston Churchill, some of the great orators, some of the great leaders, some of the great minds, and we can learn from them and follow their example and make the world ours again. Because this corporatocracy is taking away our rights and our freedoms, and we need to take it back, and we need to make it so that our kids and our grandkids don't live in a world where they have to pay for the air they breathe. So there's that little soapbox. Universal basic income, one of the last things that I do want to talk about, because I don't know if I've ever said it in a video before. I don't know if I've said my conspiracy theories or my thoughts. So let's kind of work backwards. Let's touch on a few outlines. You will own nothing and you will be happy. World Economic Forum. Government paid, what was it called? Economic relief payments during COVID-19. Was this a minor test in a universal basic income? Everyone gets it regardless of need. There are no constraints on it. Doesn't matter. There were a little bit here and there. Some of the brief facts that I looked up are that the universal basic income that America has thought of, that the U.S. has thought of, would be $12,000 a year per person. And I think it was 21% of gross domestic product is what that would be. And it was actually like 78% of the Social Security taxes. And those percentages are fresh in my mind. I actually looked at them right before recording this video. So fact check me, I dare you. 20% of GDP. Well, that would stimulate the economy. There is some great stuff coming out about universal basic income. People, when given the means, the money, essentially the tools to decide for themselves what they want and need, they generally tend to buy those necessities first. Things like WIC and food stamps and all of that, it's disincentivizing in the sense of you have to have a certain job or like make below a certain amount of money, and so you have to like force yourself to like stay qualified for that. So you see this like gap, like WIC and food stamps and people receiving government support, and if they cross that threshold, it's immediately back into like close to poverty, and there's no springboard help up. There's no pulling yourself up by your bootstraps anymore. Well, I would say instead of a strictly monetary and fiscal universal basic income, I swear I've talked about this before, but it feels good to get it out of my head, if not, because I've definitely had this conversation in my head. When I was a Lyft and Uber driver starting up my company for financial advising, I would see in the downtown area of my metropolitan city homeless people who had laptops cell phones. I mean, to me, that's crazy. It doesn't make sense to me. But again, and I've seen and heard the stories on like Reddit and things like that. Homeless people have in America. We need to get that straight. Like, if you're watching this video in another country, I hate to say it, but like, a homeless person in the United States has it way better than a lot of the population in certain other countries. And that's one of the things that a lot of people tend to forget, is how spoiled we as Americans are, and how good technology has made life for all of us. But I would posit and extrapolate that a universal basic income should be everyone has a phone. Now, the downfall to that is everyone can be tracked. And that's probably one of the reasons it'll happen. Everyone gets a car. Well, now all these Teslas and everything can be turned off by remote control. So that can be tracked and controlled and hacked. Everyone gets a house. Government housing. You won't own it. You won't really pay rent for it, because the things that you do job-wise will be taxed, quote-unquote, to pay for it. It'll be similar to the trade economy that we used to have. Hey, Bessie, I'll trade you 13 cows for the next 3 years, for a little bit of your harvest of apples and green beans. Deal. You made things like that work because you can't own the means of production for everything. And so I would posit and imagine a future that universal basic income works as being one that senior citizens who have a lot of free time, who want to get out of the house, instead of being parked in front of the boob tube, I saw that, heard that on a freaking podcast, and they made fun of the guy who said boob tube, and he was like so proud he got it out, and now it's stuck in my head, and I mean it jokingly, but instead of these old folks stuck in front of the TV getting mad watching faux news and constant negative news network, how about they have their government issued phone or their corporatocracy issued phone that tracks them, and they can go to the local park or their local nature walk or anywhere that's also owned by the corporation or the government, and they can pick up trash. They can, be citizen watch over the kids on the swings. They can do things to protect and make this a better world. And those little credits, those little points for doing the good things is what's going to allow them to, maintain their house and their home and things like that. Now, there's a lot of pitfalls and a lot of dangers to that. It's a really great idea. It's a really great idea, but not everyone can be on it all the time. You're going to need periods where you want to pursue your own thing, create art, explore a new hobby, and you're not always going to want to go to the park because, not everyone is going to have a maid and a gardener, and there's things that they have to do to maintain their lifestyle and their hobbies and their happiness and the way that they feel fulfilled. The thing that really scares me, and let's, again, play devil's advocate. You will own nothing and you'll be happy. Okay, well, you can't just give everyone antidepressants and expect them to be happy. I'm on antidepressants and I'm not always happy. I have to find fulfillment. I have to seek fulfillment. I've been on antidepressants and out of work. I'm not happy. I'm not fulfilled. I'm miserable. Now, being on antidepressants might help elevate me and get me in a mindset to feel productive again. Anyway, that is sort of the idea of how I see it happening. And maybe that's what they want. Hell, I mean, I had that idea back when Andrew Yang was talking about it in 2015? When he was running for president, 2014, 2015, he was talking about a universal basic income. I mean, I was like, hey man, like, I would like to say, like, let's really talk about a universal basic income. Back then, I mean, damn, you know, what if that was just a dream I had and it was harvested by the elites and the freaking, you know, interdimensional time vampires that Alex Jones talked about that one time on the Joe Rogan podcast. That was hilarious, wasn't it? As long as it is evolving, but it's so Black Mirror. That's the scary part. I'm talking to my little Black Mirror right now. I'm uploading it to your Black Mirror. At what point is it going to be the Matrix where the AI and the computer algorithm decides, well, humans, they just want to be happy and safe, so let's just put them in concrete steel boxes and inject them with heroin and give them a little screen. I mean, it really is a frightening outcome that could actually happen if we're not careful, and has been an idea explored by many sci-fi novels. You know, part of living life is taking risks and going out and experiencing nature. And, you know, like, let me say it here, right now. Like, I see the Northern Lights in movies all the time. Never seen it in person. Like, I should make it a goal to see the Northern Lights before I die. I could do it right now. I have the money. I have the means. I just don't do it because I have a job and a career I'm focused on. So maybe a universal basic income in a world where I own nothing, I might be able to do that. And then I would be happy. Well, they say all this stuff in the World Economic Forum, and they say it and they preach it, and it scares a lot of us. And they do it to desensitize us. And I don't know. You know, there was this whole thing by JP, you know, Awaken with JP, and I like that guy. I think he's funny, and I like his videos. But you have to be careful when you watch what he's doing. He cuts videos in a really, really difficult way. Yuval Noah Harari is one of my favorite authors, and I love the book Sapiens. It's a great book, and I really like the man, and he made him look like a really bad person. If you actually watch the video that he made cuts from, it's nothing like what he portrays. So there are things that just need to be cared after, you know, when you're gaining perspective and trying to find out the answers for yourself. You need to take time and not take the first thing at face value. And I made that mistake recently. And again, I appreciate JP on his videos and what he's trying to do, but not the most, not happy with noticing what I noticed recently. If any of you guys are familiar with, you know, the Wall Street bets and GameStop and AMC and the FUD, you know, FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt, it sells. No matter what media you're doing, Fear, uncertainty, and doubt, it all sells. And part of that is, is the New World Order and the elites. Let me tell you something about the elites, though. Think about, get the image in your head of the 1%. Who do you envision right now being the 1%? Those people around the 1950s, right after World War II, was about 50% of the population. Now, and it is capitalism. I mean, it is the nature of this game, of this beast. More and more wealth accumulates to a smaller and smaller few. So from 1950 to now, 50% to 1%. And those are the elites. That's where we're at with it. And so I think that that's one of the really great reasons that we do need to look at democracy and capitalism, and we need to have a come to Jesus type meeting with it, because it's all political and my music is literal, and if I'm a criminal, then how the F can I raise a little girl? I wouldn't be fit to. You full of shit too, Cabrera. That was a fist that hit you. But that's the thing, it's all political now. Each side wants to protect the status quo because each side wants to protect their donors and their whatever, they're the people making massive donations because they're the ones who can move forward certain legislation, etc. But capitalism is not the best economic machine that we have. It's the best one that we have so far, by far, and there's no doubt about that. It's by far the best one we have. But we have come to a watershed point in human history where we have to examine it, because we're moving past it. Things are changing. Technology's changing. And what we should do is really try something new. Without change, there is no growth. There's no growth without challenge. Bell pepper. Little hint to bell pepper. I think it was from where bell pepper was sitting on this yesterday. Kiss of bell pepper. I don't know. 50% to 1%. What a hell of a statistic. Well, meat sacks. Meat vehicles. I'll probably leave you guys with that. There's not much more to say on the topic. Give me some quotes. Give me some things to think about. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I really enjoy these videos. I really wish I could find someone to clean them up and shorten them, get rid of the pauses. I don't have time for that right now. I work 40 plus hours a week, plus raising a kid, plus enjoying playing video games. So I don't know. I can't really want to make a side hustle out of it yet. So for now, you guys just enjoy watching the videos on 2x speed, or hanging out, listening to me talking to your ear in the background. I don't know. But again, like, subscribe, leave a couple of comments for some ideas for some future topics, and I will talk to y'all next time.